Morning, everybody. How you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I'm Sean Butler. Bugsy's up in front, doing the things she loves to do. I hope you are too. Please do me a favour, guys. Smash the like button for me on the video like you always do. It really helps. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Even if you have subscribed, make sure you haven't been unsubscribed via the hashtag YouTube shenanigans. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. Guys, sorry I didn't get any footage from the game. Post-match fan shows, any of that stuff. I ended up drinking. I ended up having to get a hotel in the M6 motorway at the Premier Inn because I was too caught up in the last-minute equaliser from Decky. And, yeah, it is what it is. So I only got home yesterday. But I'll tell you what, 250 miles there, 350 kilometres, in the worst weather conditions I've ever experienced in my life. Driving on your own, listening to Joe Rogan podcasts. That was fine, because I had something to do. Something to look forward to. And it was worth every metre, every second. Driving home yesterday, Monday morning, with a little bit of a hangover, I'm not going to lie, in the worst conditions I've ever experienced for long haul driving, was torture. Absolute torture. And my body being cooped up in that car for the best part of 2 days has made me feel a little bit worse for wear. But it was worth every second. What a game, what a performance. I'm so proud of the boys. And look, I'm sure by now you've kind of read and watched a lot of people's opinions, so I won't take you through all of the ins and outs of the game, but there are some sort of takeaways, I think, that I'd like to get off my chest. And the first one is a small negative, and it's about Ben Davies. And I do think that I've seen a lot of people saying, you know, that they were generally pretty good on the day, but I've been noticing recently, and I caught it, thankfully I caught it in the highlight reels. You could see for one of the goals specifically yesterday, the Manchester City second goal, and for the chance right at the end that should have been allowed to continue, but when the referee blew his whistle, he doesn't seem to communicate when he's making a run and other people are trying to do the offside trap. I think he gets caught up tracking a player, following a player, and he plays people onside. And I think there was another opportunity that where it happened, but Haaland missed. You know, I think that you could literally finger point 3 or 4 of the opportunities in that game that fell to Manchester City that could have or should have been goals, and one of them ended up being one where the rest of the team are doing some sort of offside trap and holding the line, and Ben Davies follows Bernardo Silva in, or Haaland in, or Grealish, and plays them onside. It's a little bit of a concern, because by now I would have thought he would have been a bit more kind of aware, or at least, you know, communicating a little bit better, but I think he gets caught up in it sometimes. Bit of a concern, and it's something we're going to have to endure because, you know, Mickey van der Ven's not back for any time, even though Romero's back on Thursday. So we're still going to have Ben Davies playing. I'm not overly critical of him, because I think he's done very well, makeshift, shoehorned into a centre-back with a brand new playing partner in Royale. And we could sit here and, you know, pick holes in their abilities on the ball till the cows come home. But at the end of the day, they are being asked to play out of position against, you know, the toughest forward lines in world football some of these days. So, you know, it is what it is. But that's just the first negative. I wanted to just sort of mention it, because I've been thinking about whether it's been a consistent theme. Did it happen at Villa? Yes. Did it happen against Manchester City? Yes, several times. Ball watching the player with the runs, and making a move without communicating. Second takeaway, Brian Hill against Kyle Walker, he was on toast, and it reinforces as much as I love Brian Hill, I've got like a kind of a wannabe bromance. I want him to do really well. I know there's a great player in there, but just another piece of anecdotal evidence that shows that against tough opposition, stronger opposition, he just can't really handle it. But notwithstanding, his first involvement in the game led to the first goal, and we're going to come to, you know, why that's so important in a few minutes' time regarding the philosophy of Angeball, and why we shouldn't be too hard on Bissouma for doing the same sort of thing. But with him it was punished, and with Brian Hill it led to a goal. Third takeaway, to finish the second takeaway off, I think it just reinforces to me that, you know, we need a player who can run direct at forwards. Yesterday we saw Brennan Johnson do it a couple of times. You know, on the right he did it, on the left he did it. He actually kept going for the full 90 minutes yesterday on Sunday. So, you know, fair play. I think, you know, from large parts of the first half we were sort of tucked in, weren't we? We didn't have too much to do offensively, so maybe he got a second wind. But it's the first time I've seen him, you know, stay involved all the way through till the end, and it was so important. So congratulations to him. The next point I want to move on to is our options in the midfield. You know, I feel like Decky is just a different player since he's been asked to have a bit more involvement by coming in centrally. Obviously, Tottenham as a team were better in the second half when he was put back out to the right, when they subbed off Hill and brought on Ollie Skip. But at the first half against Villa, and in the first half specifically when he was played centrally, he gets more involved in the game, and he's so strong, and he's got such a quick mind of how to use his body weight. It's wonderful to see. The goal that he scored in injury time, just unbelievable power. And again, it's so important to have people with different skill sets. A lot of people are harsh on Decky, and myself included. I've been harsh saying that not harsh, I think it's truth, that sometimes when he's stuck out on the right hand side he can become very one-dimensional because he doesn't trust his right foot, and players have become aware of that and adapted to him. But when he comes in central, people aren't aware of what Decky can do in this new role with lots of room, and he's keeping people on their toes and they're not sure how to handle him. And I think that this adaptability of him playing centrally is a useful tool, a brilliant one. And for the second game in a row, he played the first half central and the second half out wide, and even just moving back out wide, you're keeping the other teams guessing, not knowing where the tactics are shifting. And again, that's another takeaway I'm going to come to in a moment, similar to the Bissouma Brian Hill thing. Adaptability. Another adaptable player we seem to have uncovered or refound is Giovanni Lo Celso. I know it's a small sample size, but 2 games in a row, and I'm not just saying this because he scored great goals, I'm saying this because he looks reborn, he looks happy, he looks involved, he's coming deep. Again, adaptable. I'll be speaking about this in a second. He's coming deep to pick up the ball like Maddison was in the first half of the first few games of the season when necessary. He can play in the 8. He's got a wonderful pass on him. I don't think there's a better, a softer passer of the ball, and by soft I mean like softness of touch. I think his weighting of his passing is delectable, and we've got options with him. He can play in the 8 in certain games when he has to because of our needs-must situation with injuries, or even when you've got options because everyone's back, playing him in the 8 against certain teams will make a lot of sense. Teams that play with high lines, teams that play with kind of more technical players in the midfield could be combated by having players like him in there, because his weight of passing opens games up. You know, and I think it also allows, and this is the same thing for when he's playing in the 10 like he was asked to do in the second half on Sunday, or when he's playing in the 8, it allows for players in our forward line who are naturally on the shoulder, Brennan Johnson and Heung-min Son, it allows for them to not need to be quite so close to the offside trap, because they know, they can feel confident knowing that when the ball does get released, it's going to have perfect weight on it. And I don't think you can't offer that same reassurance from when Højbjerg's passing the ball or when Pape Sarr's passing the ball. They're all good at things that Lo Celso might not be as good at them as. But in terms of weight of passing, I would go so far as to say that I'm not even sure Maddison's got a better weight of pass than Lo Celso. It's his best creative asset for me. Completely different to Maddison, completely different. Hasn't got the same speed of footwork, hasn't got the same technicalities, but what he does have is a very useful tool playing in the 8 or the 10, and something that makes you reconsider what are the priorities in January, given the injuries that we have, given the lack of options, especially in January when Sarr and Bissouma go away. You know, what are we supposed to do? Well, for me, maybe I think that if we can keep him fit, keep him happy, and keep his form up, then maybe there isn't the same requirement to go out and have to find an alternative or replacement. Same goes for Højbjerg, by the way. Come on, Bugs. He is a great player who's when he comes off the bench, he doesn't let himself down. He doesn't feel unhappy, or at least doesn't let it affect his performance. And I think his effort in the second half on Sunday was absolutely superb. And again, to me, it makes me feel a little bit more reassured, despite the horrible circumstances we're in, that we shouldn't go and paper over the cracks by spreading ourselves too thin with 5 or 6 different transfer options in one window when it's difficult to do it anyway. Go and stick to your plan, Batman. Get the striker in, get a centre-back, and if there's change, get a forward, a winger who can drive at players. Maybe Bryan Gil is, until he's... I'm not sure if he's the right guy. I think it's horses for courses. He's a great player. I wish him well with his career. I still want to see him play. I still want to see him get better. I'd love to see him get better, but I just think sometimes he's too easily pushed off the ball. Too easily pushed off the ball. I thought he was very good against Villa, but yesterday just highlighted his weakness, isn't it? Which is his strength. And it's too volatile for me. I still like I say, I'm not sorry, I'm rambling here. I'm not suggesting I want him moved on or anything. I'm just calling it for what I see it. I think the ongoing issue with him is his body weight, and I'm not sure that's ever going to change. So the takeaways for me are, adaptability and options, right? I think we have them in midfield. I thought the performance in the second half was spectacular. So was the grit, the determination. But where I wanted to just finish up, guys, is to talk about this notion that Tottenham Hotspur play Angeball, and it's a one-track minded, never moving, never moulding, never adaptable philosophy that is going to be their demise. Gary Neville said they're crazy enough or stupid enough to win this game, but they're just stupid enough to lose it as well. And maybe that's all true. But I think this notion that is put around by other fans and pundits that Tottenham don't adapt, I think it's nonsense. But I'm very happy for other teams to think that way and plan for Tottenham as though they don't change. We saw against Aston Villa, our fullbacks come into the inversion, allowing for Lo Celso, et al. To stay up the pitch. Against Manchester City, they didn't. They stayed wide, and in the first half, Lo Celso came deep. And in the second half, Højbjerg came on in place of Bryan Gil, and he came in and sat as a double pivot. And the rationale for why they did that was because of Manchester City's press. They press as a front five, and if you're going to bring Udogie and Pedro Porro in to help Bissouma out in the first half, then all that's going to happen is Doku and Foden are going to come in alongside it and compress the midfield. So there's very little benefit to us doing it. And on a player-for-player basis, you'd probably make the argument that they're stronger than our back. Their front 5 or 6 is stronger than our back 5 or 6. So they didn't do that. They asked Lo Celso to come deeper and to try and help out in that sort of box 4, if you like. And look, we still gave up chances. It wasn't perfect, but there was adaptability on show from what we saw against Aston Villa. And again, against Aston Villa, we saw different things than what we saw against Wolves. Wolves was the outlier, I think, where Ange kind of tore up the rule book and almost played like Conte ball, and he admitted that was a mistake and that he wants to keep to the philosophy. But I think that's the thing here. People think that the philosophy and the tactics, they conflate the same, and they're not the same thing. The philosophy is always to get the ball wherever you get it, don't hoof it clear, don't panic, believe in yourself, and look for a way to positively move the ball forward whilst also maintaining possession. And with that comes an acceptance of the risk that at times you might walk into trouble, but if you can break the press without having to necessarily get rid of the ball, then you're going to suddenly open up the pitch and Tottenham will create chances. And I think that is the reason why Bryan Gil did what he did in the 6th minute when we scored the goal. He could have easily passed it back to Emerson Royal or to Pedro Porro on the right-hand side, but he didn't. He did a little kind of U-turn with the ball at his feet, inside the D of the penalty area almost, and he could have been pickpocketed. And if he did, we probably would have conceded straight away, and everyone would have been mental at Bryan Gil. Similar to what they did for Bissouma with the 3rd goal. Exactly the same scenario. Bryan Gil gets away with it, passes it to Decky, who launches the ball for Sonny, and we're 1-0 up. Amazing. Everyone gives him plaudits. After that, Brian Hill then went into his shadow and couldn't get much joy out of Kyle Walker at all. But in the first 5 minutes, he did exactly what was asked of him. Take the chance, take the risk, and it will work out more often than it doesn't. 60 minutes, 70 minutes later in the game, in the 82nd minute, when Bissouma tries to do exactly the same thing, could have laid the pass off easily to, I think it was Ben Davies or Udogie, whoever it was on the left-hand side, didn't do it, didn't take the option, tried to cut back inside, and this time was picked by 2 players. I think 3 players were pressing him. And I think that's the takeaway, right? If he gets away with that, Tottenham can go on and take the lead in the game and go 3-2 up. Instead, he gets his pocket picked, and everyone's criticising him for an ineffectual game that ultimately could have cost us. But I don't think he'll be dropped. People are asking him to be dropped for Højbjerg. I don't think he will be dropped, because I think he's doing what Ange has asked of him to do, and asked of the team in and of itself, which is a philosophy of not getting rid of the ball unnecessarily. If you think you can break the press, then do it, because the second you've done it, you've suddenly got masses of room in front of you, and it's a wonderful way to create opportunities. And like I said a minute ago, Ange thinks that the philosophy bears out more chances for the good than for the bad, as long as you're good at what you do. And sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't, but it is what it is. Get on board it. So this notion that the philosophy doesn't change, Angeball doesn't change, I think that's true. But the notion that the tactics don't, that we stay stubborn and rigid, is a massive falsehood. As I say, in the first half, we adapted by leaving Udogie and Porro out wide, and that keeping Doku and Foden out wide as well. And obviously, like I say, it wasn't perfect. With Brian Hill at the top end, ineffectual, they took him off and brought Højbjerg in, and then that created a double pivot. And then they had this option then to, what did Rodri want to do? Did Rodri want to come up and join and become part of the press and put literally 6-on-6 in Tottenham's half? Well, no, he didn't want to do that, because that would leave maybe too much space available in the back, too much, a little bit too sort of gung-ho on City's side. So he stayed back, which gave Tottenham more possession. And in the end, I think in the first 20 minutes of the second half, I think we had 75 or 80% possession versus Man City's 25 or 20. Tactical adaptation. The philosophy stayed the same, but the tactics didn't. But you know what? I'm very happy for opposition fans, opposition managers, opposition teams. I'm very happy for all the pundits to say that Tottenham's Angeball never changes, because what they're talking about is tactics, and what we're talking about is philosophy. And if they are going to prep and plan for Tottenham the same way every time, then that will leave Tottenham's ability to change game in-game, change tactics in-game, and will then have moments where the other team aren't aware of what's going on. Similar to what happened against Chelsea, when for the first 15 minutes Chelsea had no idea how to adapt. Now, what I would say is, if Tottenham, when they find themselves camped in, if every time the 6 or the person playing in the 6 role in that moment gets the ball on the edge of the area, and rather than making a simple pass, if every single time he looks to turn back inside and break the press, then that will become very predictable in and of itself, and teams will come to expect that, and then you'll have the balance of the turnovers going against you. So as long as Tottenham keep tweaking little things here and there, and the notion that Tottenham don't change remains stable, and Tottenham will always create opportunities. And yesterday for me was a game where we took our chances and Manchester City didn't. You know, they could have been 4-1, 5-1 up at half-time. They weren't. Similar to Tottenham versus Aston Villa, similar to Luton, similar to, I was going to say Wolves, but in fact Wolves, we didn't really create anything the entire game. But against Aston Villa, we could have been 5-1 up in the first, we could have been 4-0 up in the first 10 minutes of the game. We didn't take our chances, Aston Villa did, and we got punished. On Sunday, Manchester City didn't take their chances, and Tottenham did, and they ended up cursing their luck. You know, there was a little bit of luck and fortune in there, but ultimately I think we were well deserved of the points, and that's the reason why I ended up staying up and celebrating, and the reason why I wasted the entirety of yesterday getting home and then sleeping on the couch all afternoon, because I was absolute mess. It's also the reason why you didn't get any footage or any match day experience. I completely apologise about all that stuff, guys. But listen, we're back on Thursday. We're going to Tottenham, and I can't wait. Listen, I know that if this guy is watching, I know you don't want to be called out and mentioned, but I want to say massive thank you to you and your son for providing the away tickets. You're an absolute legend, and both of you are, and I very much appreciate these opportunities to go to stadiums like the Etihad, which, by the way, is a really nice stadium. A lot of people were saying on the post-match kind of fan shows that I've watched that Tottenham, the away fans were incredible. It's interesting because they were split over 3 tiers, and each tier had like maybe 12, 15 rows of fans. And I was in the second tier, and you couldn't really hear the group above, and you couldn't really hear the group below. So if your section was quiet for a period, then you didn't really feel the atmosphere. But everyone says that Tottenham fans were heard loud and proud. I was certainly singing my heart out, and I couldn't believe Decky's powerful header at the end. What a way to finish a wonderful trip. Well, it didn't finish that way for me. It finished at about 9 o'clock yesterday morning. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, subscribe and comment, guys. And as always, I'll see you after West Ham on Thursday. Come on, you Spurs.